your hands on the wheel. Let the golden age begin. Let the window down. Feel the moonlight on your skin. Let the desert winds cool your aching head. Let the weight of the world drift away instead. Oh, these days I barely get by. I don't even try. Alright, hello there, thrill seekers. That was The Golden Age by Beck, and that's because somebody in the comments section commented yesterday because I did the song, what was it, All Things Must Pass by George Harrison, and he said I sounded a little bit like Beck, and I said, you know, there was, and he posted a link to The Golden Age by Beck. And I said, my dad, who I'd talked about on Monday, who passed away recently, had a secretary, and once when I met his secretary, who was about my age, and this would have been in the 90s sometime, she said, oh, you look like the guy from Beck. And I at the time, I did look like the guy from Beck. Anyway, and I looked at the link, and I saw, I was looking at Beck's hands on the guitar as he's playing the song Golden Age, and I realized, oh, those are the same chords as All Things Must Pass. I always thought that song sounded like All Things Must Pass, and I realized it's because it's the same chords as All Things Must Pass. So I realized, oh, I know how to play Golden Age because I know how to play All Things Must Pass. Anyway. So there you go. That's why I played Golden Age by Beck. A real nice song. Today, I just thought I'd do kind of a little video because I had something I was working on to talk to you about death because my dad just passed away, and I've been looking at some of the Buddhist beliefs around death, especially stuff in the Bardo Thodol, I think is how you pronounce it, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and some of that stuff, and I thought I'd talk about that and share it, but I'm really not prepared. So I thought I'd talk about something else, a little bit lighter. The other day, I happened to be looking at what I think was a new episode of Ancient Aliens. I don't know if anybody else out there follows the show Ancient Aliens, but I'm a big fan of the show Ancient Aliens. Now, I don't necessarily believe everything I see on Ancient Aliens, because a lot of it's kind of goofy, but I enjoy the show in sort of a... My hair's doing crazy things this morning. Anyway, I enjoy the show in a sort of goofball way. I sort of laugh with it and a little bit at it sometimes, but I enjoy it. I really find it fascinating and interesting sometimes. But the one thing that's interesting about the show is it's on the History Channel. And a lot of people go, make fun of it and go, oh, look, the History Channel, look how far they've devolved, and it's not even history, and blah, blah, blah. One of the things I think is interesting about the show is that they do present a lot of stuff that's history and that's researched, and then they draw goofy alien conclusions from it. So they'll present you something that's actually, well researched and interesting. And this happened to be one of those things that I'm about to tell you, which they were talking about the pyramids. And one of the guys on the show happened to say that when you examine the pyramids all over the world, one of the interesting facets about the pyramids, whether they're in Mexico or in Egypt or in, I don't know where else you find pyramids, is that they are often built on top of some kind of natural feature. They're built to kind of... I don't know if the word is commemorate, to commemorate or celebrate. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. If I was a writer of books, I would sit around for an hour contemplating what word to use, but since I'm doing a video, I don't have that luxury. But they're built on top of some kind of a natural feature that the people who built them felt was important. And often it's a spring, because springs were a source of clean water and they were important to people, especially in ancient times. especially in the desert in Egypt. But even in Mexico, they were important because they needed fresh water, and they didn't like the swampy water and so forth. So often when they examine these pyramids, they'll find in the center, at the very bottom, a spring, a natural spring. And they'll also find that there isn't just one pyramid, that there are successive pyramids or structures that predate the pyramids that were built on top of the spring in successive layers, right? So you have one thing that was built around the spring, and then you have a thing that was built around that thing, and then you have another thing that was built around that other thing, and another thing that was built around, and then eventually you get to this giant pyramid, right? Okay, there's a point to all this. I was thinking that that's kind of like religion. Okay, so hear me out. This is a metaphor that might be stretched to the breaking point, and I haven't really tried to. We just went grocery shopping, me and my wife, and I tried to explain it to her on the way on the car there. So that's the only time I've tried to actually voice this since I watched The Ancient Aliens until I'm trying to do this video. So let's see how it goes. I think it's like religion. So what happens with religion often, especially if you're talking about the mystical religions like Buddhism, like Advaita Vedanta style Hinduism, like a lot of religions, like mystical Christianity, certain kinds of Judaism, certain kinds of Islam, etc., etc., is that at the core of it is a kind of real experience that's very profound, that maybe occurred to one person or to a group of people, maybe to several people. Some people think that some of these figures at the heart of these religions, such as the Buddha himself, are made up characters that sort of represent a number of people who had these experiences. So maybe we can even say that. But we'll say that at the core is this experience of kind of transcendence, okay? And what has been done is that the people or person who had this experience is trying to kind of build something around it, metaphorically, to show where it is, how to get there, and how other people can find that experience, somewhat in the way that people who found a spring were trying to show others where they could find that spring and get fresh water. So at first, it's a small structure that just shows where people are. But people get fascinated by the structure, and they start building up another structure. And they build it up, and they build it up, and then they build a structure on top of that structure, and another structure on top of that structure. And what you get is something like what happened with the pyramid, to the pyramids in various places, to where the structure totally overwhelms the thing that it's built around, to where it becomes like when we see the Great Pyramids, we don't even know that there's a spring at the bottom, and that the whole reason that that pyramid is there in the first place is because there's a spring in the bottom, in the center of it. And we don't even know that. We're just like going, whoa, look at that pyramid, like I did in the picture that I showed you when I was sitting on that camel with my dad on the other camel, and we were in Egypt. I actually saw those pyramids, the Great Pyramids in is it Giza? Yeah, I think it's Giza. I wanted to say Gaza, but Gaza is something else. Giza, right? Anyway, I saw those pyramids and I was like, whoa, those are cool. Those are amazing. Those are awesome in the actual real sense of the word awesome. To use the word awesome correctly. Those are awesome things. So that's what happens with religion. You have this giant edifice that completely overwhelms the thing that it was supposed to show us the way to where we don't even know that there's a thing at the bottom of it that it was originally intended to show us the way to. I don't know if this metaphor is making any sense, but this is the way I felt about it. So I hope you're following me. I don't know if I'm really conveying this very well, but I'm going to continue anyway. I think what we in the Zen tradition are trying to do is we're trying not to do that. So in the Zen tradition, to keep extending this metaphor possibly to the breaking point, is we're trying to just show where that spring is by putting like a wooden post there with a sign on top of it that has a handwritten, spring here with an arrow, right? And maybe that's why in the Zen tradition a lot of what we say is sort of vague and sort of indistinct, because we don't want to ruin it by building this giant edifice. This may be why the things that Dogen says are just kind of pointers and not really trying to pin it down and make it really, really specific the way a lot of other religions do, and a lot of other traditions build a lot of ritual and a lot of edifice around it. And the thing that continually happens in the Zen tradition, to extend the metaphor even more, and I hope I'm probably losing everybody at this point, but what happens in the Zen tradition is, because people are what they are, is that one Zen teacher comes along, puts the wooden stake in the ground, spring here with the arrow, and then somebody goes, oh, we better make this better, and they try to make a better sign, and then somebody else says, oh, we better make this sign golden, and we better make a metal sign, and we better put a little building around the sign, we better build a bigger building around the sign, we better build something, and it gets built up. And then another Zen teacher will come along and go, hey, this is ruining it. Nobody even knows there's a spring under here. And he'll tear down everything. And then everybody gets mad at that guy. He goes, oh, look, you tore down that thing that we spent all this time building. And that guy, the Zen teacher who tore it down, goes, yeah, but nobody even knew there was a spring down under it. I had to tear that down. And everybody's mad at him, going, oh, you tore down that beautiful thing we put up. And he's going, yeah, I know I had to tear it down, but because nobody knew there was a spring under here. So, and this is what the continual process that happens in the Zen tradition over and over and over. So I think that's what happens, and I think that's what has to happen, and that's what continually happens if the Zen tradition is healthy. It sort of knocks itself down every few years, and it should continue to do that, and I think that's a good and healthy aspect of the tradition. So there you go. That's a short video for you today. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I won't be making a video. My nephew is supposedly arriving in a few hours, and we're going to have Thanksgiving with him. And I'll be pretty busy with him for the whole weekend. I hope to be back next week with more videos. We'll see how that goes. So I'll either be back or I won't. But until then, my URL, if you want to help me buy more Thanksgiving dinner, I bought most of my stuff already, but Christmas dinner, you can go to the URL that you were seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my main and my only ways of making a living, and I really appreciate your support. But as always, you don't have to support me if you don't want to support me, because this is offered for free. So we will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Laters. Bye. Hey, Ziggy. You stayed inside this time, huh? It's warmer in here, huh? Alright. Do you think religions are like pyramids? You don't think much about religion, do you? Alright. Nice sigh. Alright, we'll talk to you later. Okay, bye, Ziggy.